Alice Neal, why does portrait painting have such a lousy, bad name these days?
Well, because for one thing, there's been an anti-humanist attitude that the human creature is unimportant.
We've all had that experience of standing in a museum, looking at a piece of art, and just wondering, where did this come from?
The miracle of great art is that they're made by human beings with their hands.
We have this idea of artists as these grand figures. And when you see their correspondence and their journals, you get to see the process and you get to see them as people.
One of the most amazing things to me in an archival search was hearing John Cage's voice.
So it was in Europe, in Paris, that I saw modern painting and heard modern music, and I came to the conclusion that I could do either one of them.
Understanding the voices can have history too. I don't think you can have the history of American art without archives.
There was some belief that there was essential qualities to American art. It's what I call the Artichoke Theory, that if you bit by bit move the leaves away, that you will eventually get to the heart, and that will be the essence of what American art is. And what I've long learned, and I think what the archives exemplifies, is the fact that it's all about the leaves, not just the heart.
When we talk about American art, we're not only talking about artists. We're talking about the dealers who gave them an audience, the collectors who were their patrons, the scholars who've written about artists. We want to be sure that we are getting all of the voices that make this a rich story.
Our collections can really shift narratives that we American art historians think we know really well. For instance, we have an interview that the art critic Gene Swenson did with Andy Warhol that's like the primer for pop art. It turns out that on these cassette tapes brought to our attention by a researcher, Jen Seichel, Gene Swenson puts the question directly to Andy Warhol about being queer.
What do you know about homosexuality? Andy, have you ever met a homosexual?
I think the whole interview on me should be just on homosexuality.
Andy Warhol speaks at length about queerness's relationship to pop art, and all of that material has been cut out of every published version of this interview. So researchers will be able to reinvent the narrative of Andy Warhol, which is, great. It's a great thing.
The story of American art isn't told one way by one kind of person. It's told through the voices of many kinds of people, many of whom have been ignored in our museums.
Anybody who is in the field and is thinking about what needs to be done now is thinking about revising history and thinking about including voices that have been left out.
Dear Dad, just got home from the opening at the LA County. An artist from New York asked if I knew the work of so-and-so. I said no. Then he asked if I was a dilettante.
People who are not necessarily invited in the front door of a museum often get in through an archive. And so the initiative for women's papers, the initiative for thinking about feminism in the context of the archives, initiatives for collecting artists of color puts those voices in American history.
I was hired as the Latino Collection specialist, and one of the reasons I accepted the job was because I understood immediately the archives that I would collect would be cataloged in the same system as everyone else, from Jackson Pollock to Helen Frankenthaler.
We don't just want the people whose papers are in to be a more diverse group. We also want the people who are coming in to study the papers to be more diverse. There are communities and there are artists who could benefit so much from looking at our collections.
I certainly learned by looking at other people's archives and their histories. Knowing something about their personalities before you have completely made yours your own helps you to understand the strength that it takes.
The Archives of American Art is built around a culture of access, and digitization is key to that access. When we can make something available online, we make it available to everyone in the world.
America is a complicated, big story, and all these communities that we identify are part of that story.
Artists are storytellers of a moment. They're reflecting a human response to a time and a place. And to really understand the history of this nation, We need to understand how artists were responding and what they were creating.
No one lives in an entirely Latino world. No one lives in an entirely white world or an entirely African American world. American life is complicated and we're all connected to each other if you dig deep enough. The Archives of American Art is that place where you can dig deep.